Hello, everyone. Welcome to another live session today, September 10th, 2025. Today's topic is going to be on manifesting with your higher self. Manifesting with your higher self, which is the infinite part of you, the eternal part of you, the part of you that is eternally expanding and growing, and why that is such a powerful thing to manifest in this physical world, this time space reality. So, that is the topic for today, manifesting with your higher self. And if you have any questions, please let me know. This is the time to ask. That is why I come on live and to answer your questions and to have this lively engagement with you, whether you have a question or whether you have a comment or a beautiful statement, beautiful wisdom to share with us. I deeply appreciate it. So, again, today's topic is manifesting with your higher self. And this is a manifesting tool, manifesting tip that you can employ to start to accelerate that manifestation, accelerate the money, the career, the business, the relationships, whatever it is that your soul desires, your heart desires. So let's first clear the energy of the room, and then we will get started with this topic on manifesting with your higher self. Okay, so just relax, stay present in the now, and breathe naturally. Dear God, angel, spirit guides, ascended masters, divine creator, thank you so much for allowing us to create this sacred space. Thank you so much for allowing us to engage in this topic of manifesting with our higher self to show us how each one of us can be the greatest creator of our lives, the greatest manifester of our lives. Thank you so much for this wonderful session and for all of the messages and wisdoms that are coming through so that we may follow our soul's path and the higher self that we truly are, the infinite part of us, the part of us that is real, the part of that is authentic, so that we may become powerful creators of our lives. So thank you so much for allowing this session to go off without a hitch. Thank you for removing any low frequency energies that do not serve the highest and best interest of this session and all of us here. And thank you so much for allowing the session to go off with ease, flow, peace, and serenity. And so it is. Hi, Tamika. Hi, Najira. Hi, Leah. Thank you so much. St. Martha Montessori School. Oh, that is very cool. I have a Montessori school very close to me, actually, only a couple of, maybe not even 2 miles away. And I've heard great things about the Montessori school. So, yeah, great things about, I mean, if it's the school that I'm thinking it is, for kids, it's a wonderful school. So, congratulations if you teach there or if you are affiliated. Okay, so if you have any questions about this topic, let me know, and I'm happy to answer any questions. So, today's topic is on how to manifest with your higher self. And so, when we say higher self is really the true nature of who we are. That's the definition. In Buddhism, they say, what is your true nature? What is the true nature of who you really are? And oftentimes we think that while it is true that we are this person, we're Tamika, we're Najira, we're Praise. Hi, Praise, nice to meet you in this physical form, that our soul has come into the physical form. That physical form is temporary. It's just like a house. Or it's a car. It just houses our soul temporarily. So the true nature of who we are is a soul that's an infinite, eternal being of infinite possibilities. That's really what we call our higher self, the true nature of who we really are. And so, because we've come into this physical form and we're living in this physical time space reality, we want to have all of the physical experiences. We want to have the relationship. We want to have the home. We want to have the car. We want to have the money because we are physical beings. But the thing is, this is that where we really go off course in our ability to become powerful manifestors of our lives is we get so trapped in the physical because we have the five senses of the seeing, the smelling, the touching, the tasting, the hearing. Those five senses are so powerful that we think that that's manifestation. We think that we manifest in the physical realm, that we manifest in the physical realm when we really manifest in the metaphysical. And so, because we are metaphysical beings, we are this eternal soul, and that higher self is a metaphysical being. That is how we really, that's where we need to focus in our manifesting, but we focus on the physical. And so, what often happens is we look at the physical evidence, what you call evidence, and say, well, Moon, I don't have a relationship. That's my physical reality. Or I only have $200 in the bank. That's my physical reality. We're completely miss what really manifestation is. The physical manifestation is really a byproduct of the metaphysical energies of your higher self. Your soul, your higher self is really where it's at. That's where you really want to leverage that power of your higher self to manifest. You want to leverage the power of your metaphysical side of your higher self to manifest because that is the precursor to physical manifestation. All physical manifestations comes out of metaphysical energies. That is the universal law. And so because we are in the physical, we get so trapped in the physical that we don't understand that the precursor to that physical manifestation is metaphysical manifestation. So what does it mean? So I'm going to kind of break down, I'm going to do like a yin and yang. I'm going to show you the difference between the higher self and then the physical part of you, like the ego mind, which is the layer that is the layer below the higher self. There's a higher self and then there's the ego mind. And the ego mind is so focused on the physical manifestation, the evidence of it. Do I have the material? And the higher self is focused on the energy, the metaphysical, the universal forces, the light, the things that you can't necessarily smell, touch, feel, or hear. And the ego mind is really focused on the material, the things that you could see, the things that you could focus, the things that you could feel, the things that you could hear, the things that you could taste, the things that you could smell. So there's basically these two levels that are kind of, because we're not aligning, they kind of bump into each other. They're bumping into each other because the metaphysical, the higher self is saying anything's possible. And then when you look at your physical reality, you see limitations. And so they're constantly bumping because you're like, well, I see your ego mind's like, there's limitations. What do you mean? I'm an eternal being of infinite possibilities. Look at this limitation that I don't have the car, I don't have the money, you know, I don't have the relationship, I don't have the career. This is my reality, Moon. What are you talking about? Right? So because we're physical beings, we're drawn to that material. And so it keeps butting heads with our higher self, with the eternal part of us. And this butting heads creates a lot of resistant energy. It creates the inability to receive the infinite abundance of prosperity that the universal forces have for each one of us. Because we're basically blocking our own energetic flow. And so these are the two big differences of your higher self versus your ego mind. Your higher self that's looking at the infinite, the light, the eternal, and then your ego mind that's constantly looking at limitations, fear, limiting beliefs. So there's this economy. And so once we start to let go of that ego mind, that material, and we focus on this, the higher self, That's when we become powerful manifestors and creators of our lives. Hi, Heidi. Hi, Botanical Bro 888. Hi, Margaret Stinson. Hi, Aaliyah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So let me talk to you. Let's go into, and if you have any questions, hi, Tamika. If you have any questions while I am going through this, please let me know. And this is the time to ask because I come on live just to have this live interaction and to answer your questions. Okay. So think of this as a two column, the yin and yang. The soul is in column one, and the ego mind is in column two. The soul is focused on the eternal, the infinite possibilities, the light, unconditional love, compassion. And the ego mind is focused on the material, focused on fear, focused on limitations, focused on what it cannot do. So, so the soul is telling you to trust in the process, trust in things that you cannot see, trust in things that you don't necessarily know right now, trust in the process. And the ego mind is saying to you, no, 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 don't trust, don't have blind faith, because the evidence in the material world is not shown. Like you don't have the actual car, you don't have the actual, money, you don't have the actual relationship. So don't look at this part that you cannot see right now because it's not in physical evidence. So the soul is saying trust, and the ego mind is saying don't trust. So again, there's that butting heads. The soul is saying it's in divine timing, and the ego mind is saying impatience, rush. The soul is saying that when everything happens in divine timing and just at the right perfect timing, and then if things are not happening right now, it doesn't mean that there's a delay for a good reason that you're not privy to, but the universal forces are privy to. And the ego mind is saying, I'm frustrated. It's not happening fast enough. It's being delayed. What's going on? So there's that, again, that banging of heads, that conflict. The soul is saying, you are infinite, you are eternal, which means that there's infinite possibilities in your life. And the ego mind is saying, no, you're not infinite. There's limitation. You're limited. And it's giving you these limited belief systems about you, that you have limited abilities, that you have limited potential to manifest your life. So again, that's butting heads, like, right? Two different messages. The soul is giving you one, and the ego mind is giving you the other. The soul is saying that you are unconditionally worthy, that you are good enough. The ego mind is saying, no, you're not unconditionally worthy. You're not good enough. Who do you think you are? And the soul is saying, no, you are infinite, unconditional worthy because you are the image of God, an image of this universal, beautiful light, that you are actually infinite. You are eternal. And the soul saying, no, you're limited. You're you're not infinite. You're not eternal. So again, butting heads. The soul is saying that you are uh, you are always that you are present in the power of now, that this is the only moment that really exists, that this is the only moment that matters in the power of now. Because when you transcend this time space reality and you move beyond it, there is only ever the now. And so the soul ever lives in the now. That's why Wittgenstein, that beautiful philosopher, said those who live in the now have eternal life. Those who live in the now have eternal life. And what is the soul saying? The soul is saying is always, or no, what is the ego mind saying on the other hand? The ego mind is always looking at the past or looking at the future. But the past is already under the bridge, and the future could be anything. But the ego mind is focused on the past or focused on the future. And often the future is a default scenario of limited possibilities rather than understanding that there is unlimited possibilities. So the soul is always in the presence of now, and then the ego mind is living in either the past or it's living in the future. But there is only ever the now. Once the soul that leaves this body, this time space reality, there's only ever the now. There's never the past and there's never the future. There's only ever the now. That's the true reality of, of your existence. The soul has eternal faith, utmost faith in things that they can't see, and things that it doesn't know, the things that it 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 can't predict per se, but it just has faith and it has infinite faith that things are always working out for your highest and best good, that you are being watched, you are being protected, you are being supported. Whereas the ego mind doesn't have any faith. So it lives in fear and it feels like, oh my God, I mean, I have to control this, I have to manipulate this, I have to do this because there's all this fear. There's no faith in the ego mind. So again, there's that butting heads. The soul is living is present in the metaphysical energetic flow, whereas the ego mind is living in the material. It wants to see the actual material evidence. Where's the car? Where's the house? Where's the relationship? Whereas the soul is no understands that everything is that all of those beautiful things already have has happened in this metaphysical energetic space, that frequency of love is there already. That frequency of money is there already. That frequency of a job or career is there already. That frequency of a house is already there. So, and then the soul has infinite compassion for yourself and others and for the universe. Infinite compassion because it knows that the light is so powerful, so strong, and that nobody could take away the light of the soul. Nobody, nothing could take away the unconditional high energy of love of the soul. It can't be taken away because there's infinite amount of it. There's infinite love, infinite compassion. Whereas the ego mind is more narcissistic, is more selfish because it has a limiting belief system. So when you have things, you believe that things are limited, then you have to hoard it for yourself, right? Because if you think that if somebody else has it, then it's taken away from you. So you see how the dichotomy of how the soul, your higher self works versus the ego mind, and it's butting heads. And that butting heads is when you become you become not a great or less of a powerful manifester because it's hard to manifest. Why? It's hard to manifest when you're constantly butting because your higher self really knows that you are infinite being of eternal possibilities. And it truly understands that about you, but the ego mind is saying something, is trying to pull you in a different direction. So it's like this energy is being pulled rather than aligned, rather than come together in harmony to align, and therefore it goes and it gets focused, and then the energy just goes like this. Whereas when you have the higher self and the ego mind, you know, butting heads, the energy is being pulled and it's like splitting it. And when you're splitting it like this, you're not manifesting, you're not creating. It's that the energy must be aligned so that it gets focused and the alignment goes like this, and then the energy gains momentum, and then the manifestation occurs. And so that's why this whole topic about manifesting with your higher self is something that we should all really be keenly aware of. That each one of your nature, every single one of us, our nature is the higher self. That is the genuine, authentic nature of our existential being, is that we are an eternal being of eternal possibilities. That is the true nature of who we are. And that's where we are completely lost. And when we align with that true nature of our higher self, what is it that you cannot manifest? What is it that you cannot accomplish? What is it that you cannot create? Because this higher self is infinite, infinite possibilities, infinite creation, unlimited, taps into any possibilities that there ever is. And it is truly, truly the most positive, high frequency light of compassion and love. And we know that when you have such pure love and compassion, all things are possible. All things are possible when you have such high vibration. But when you're so stuck in this ego mind of limitation, what are you going to manifest? You're not going to manifest much. You're not going to manifest the money. You're not going to manifest the career. You're not going to manifest the relationship because all it is, you know, recycling yourself in this limitation energetic system. Whereas this, your higher self, is tapped into something so big, so great, so unlimited that when you can align yourself with that part of you, the higher self part of you, that is when you become a powerful manifester and creator of your life. Okay, so I hope you understood that so far. So if there's any question about that, let me know because I want to take a break and let's see if there's any question. Oh, Margaret Stinson says, how do you best communicate with your higher self? I love it. I love it. Great question. So what I do, and I've done this, I use this a lot, and this is one of the reasons why I have trained myself to be aware of what I say to myself. And so I train myself like in the morning when I wake up, I listen to positive morning meditations that make me feel like I'm infinite, that today's going to be a great day and I'm going to have a magical day. And so, and then throughout the day, as I'm moving through the day, I'm very consciously aware. I try to be consciously aware of what I'm saying to myself. What am I saying to myself? So that's really step one is what am I saying to myself? So if I have a situation where like, you know what, I need to find an investor, right? For my company or something. Let's say this is an example. And for some reason, for the past, 6 months, I haven't been able to, you couldn't find the right investor for your business because you're trying to start a business or you're trying to create a business. And you're thinking like, oh my God, I can't find an investor because of blah, 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 blah. And you're giving yourself all of these reasons why you can't find an investor. Well, that's a clear sign that you've got to pause what you're saying because whenever you speak limitation, you're not aligning with your higher self, you're aligning with your ego mind. And so to have an awareness of what am I saying to myself? Am I aligning with my higher self or am I aligning with my ego mind? And that's the question to ask. And when you see yourself aligning yourself with the ego mind, you say, pause. Wait, pause. How can I reframe what I just said that still makes it believable, that is more aligned with my ego or my higher self? So you might say something like, you know what? I understand why, while I may not have the investor today, I know the investor will come in divine timing. I know the investor will come as I keep taking step towards this company. I keep taking little steps, step by step, and I know in divine timing that the investor will come just at the perfect time when my company and I'm ready to have that investor. Because a lot of times those cooperative components won't come in until you're ready. Everything is ready. Everything is ready. You're ready to receive it. That's divine timing, or it's in really in your highest and best interest for that cooperative component to come in later. And you don't know why, but there's a reason that the bigger universal forces see that you cannot see. So you want to ask yourself, when you have a thought, ask yourself, is this thought limiting and aligning with my ego mind of fear and limitations? Or is this thing that I'm saying to myself aligned with my eternal being of eternal possibilities, my higher self, which is really truly who I am? I am this higher self of eternal possibilities. So when you ask that question after you've had a thought or you keep repeating something, you will clearly know which way you're aligned with. Are you aligned with this or you're aligned with that? You aligned, which column are you aligned with? And so when you know and when you can make that determination that you are aligned with your ego mind and not with your higher self, that's when you say pause. And what statement can I say that is more aligned with my higher self? And you keep practicing it. And so one of the things that I do is, even if I'm working, let's say I'm working on a computer, I would sometimes on my other computer, I would play meditations, I would play certain affirmations even that make me keep connecting to my higher self. Like I would just play, or if I'm cooking, I'll turn on a meditation. I love Louise Hay. I think I love her. I love her affirmations. And I'll just turn on her affirmations. So as I'm cooking, it would seep into my subconscious mind to align with my higher self. And so it's just training, because the more you hear it, the more you hear it, the more you hear it, the more it goes into your subconscious mind. And at first, if you're listening to this or saying things to yourself, it might not feel as authentic, but over time, as you keep repeating these things, I am an eternal soul of eternal possibilities. I am a powerful creator of my life. Things are always working out for me. I am abundant and prosperous. I am grateful. As you keep just saying these things over and over again, you start training that subconscious mind, and then every cell in your body starts to feel it. That's where you want to go. You want to get to the feeling. So emotion and thoughts equal feeling, and you want to get the feeling that I am eternal. I am I am, I have infinite possibilities. I am a powerful creator. I have unique talents and gifts. I am unconditionally worthy. You want to keep reinforcing that about yourself. And not in a narcissist, this is not about narcissism. That's not what this is about. Because it's not about narcissism, it's about aligning with your true nature. And if you do align with your true nature, your higher self has the most compassion, has the most love for everyone. So you're not narcissistic is me, 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 me. When you align with your higher self, it's the most unconditional love for yourself and for others. So there's no way that you could be narcissistic. The more you align with your higher self, the more compassion you would have for yourself and for others. So you're not, it's not me, 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 me. Oh, I'm this eternal being but that is true. But you could be an eternal being and you may have powerful manifestations. You may make a lot of money, but you could share that money, right? I always say money's not evil. So let's say you become a powerful manifester of your life and you're making all of this money, but you're not hoarding it for yourself. You're going to share it. You're going to use that money to do good for the rest of society. So that's not narcissistic. Narcissistic would be like, oh, if I made all this money and I never shared it with anybody, that this money was for me hoarding it. You're not going to hoard it. You're going to share it. You're going to use it to make a positive impact in the world. Okay. So that was a really good question. Okay. So what other question? Okay. Hi, Botanical Bro 888. How do I perceive my world via the perception of my higher self? I basically answered that question. Because every time you see yourself, like if you're judging somebody, let's say all of a sudden I remember one time we were driving. This was in New York City, and this was an example. One of my sisters who I dearly love, she was like, "Oh, look at that. That's so ostentatious. Look at that rich person who's like," she was like judging the rich people because she's not rich. So every time you see yourself judging, because you don't have something and you're judging somebody else, that's a really good indication of, are you aligning with your higher self or aligning with your ego mind? So every time there's limitation, every time there's fear, every time there's lack of faith, every time there's lack of trust, every time there's lack of patience, or you're being selfish, you're not aligning with your higher self. Now, does it mean that you're just going to let people take advantage of you and say, "Oh, my higher self would have compassion for everybody, anybody"? No, that's not what we're saying. We're not condoning bad behavior. If somebody is doing bad things, or they've broken the law or done things that have harmed humanity, then that person shouldn't be part of society. So you're not condoning bad behavior. That's not what this is about. So if you say, "Oh, I have infinite compassion," you still have compassion for the person who has done bad things, but we're not going to let the person just free, right? You have a compassion saying that this person, that soul, that person's ego mind has taken over the soul and has done bad things. But does that mean that we're going to just let that person loose and do more bad things? No, we're not going to do that. So the compassion is to say that every single person, whether, even if they have done bad things, gets compassion, because they're actually, the Thich Nhat Hanh always says people who do bad things, they actually need help because they're lost. They're really lost. They're confused. Does that mean that we're just going to let them run around society and do more harm? No, that's not what we're saying here. So just because you have infinite compassion, but you still have compassion for that being, because the reason why that being has done these bad things is because their ego mind has just taken over, and they haven't really aligned with their higher self. Because if they have aligned with their higher self, they wouldn't be doing those bad things. So every time you have a thought, or you make a judgment, or you have an observation, you pause and ask yourself, am I seeing this from a perspective of my higher self, or am I seeing this from the perspective of my ego mind? Okay, so that's a very good question. Thank you. Hi, Praise. Hi, Amin. Nice to meet you. Hi, Mona. I have something like it's taking forever. Yes, my soul saying, just wait. What if I do wait because it's related with money? I don't have to pay, so it's very hard. Okay, so Praise. I think the gist of what you're saying is you're waiting, right? You're waiting, and you're trying to be in the flow. You're trying to have patience. But the thing is this, is that there's some resistance. There's a frequency, because you're saying that you're trying to wait, but there's that frustration. You're still frustrated. You're still like, why is it not happening, right? That's the part, that resistance is the part that's not allowing this manifestation to happen as fast as you would like. Because if you had zero resistance, now you're a powerful creator. But it's hard to have zero resistance. Think about it. If you're trying to get this money, right? And you're like, "You know what? I know I'm a higher self. I know the universal forces is gonna, bring the money in divine timing." But we're human beings, and most of us are not trained to let go of all of our resistant energy. So there's that subconscious part of you that's still frustrated. That's like, ugh, like I'm trying to be patient, but I'm really not. Like there's a part of you in there that's like still frustrated that this money hasn't come, right? That's the part. That's the part. That's the part that you want to work on, is how can I work on this part that keeps, even though yes, consciously I'm aware that I should wait and have divine timing and wait for the universal force. I'm consciously aware of that, which is great praise. And I praise you for that, no pun intended. But there's that part of you that's like, I want this money now. And that part of you is creating that resistant energy. It's like bumping like this. And so that part of you could be unconscious. It could be subconscious. You're not even consciously aware that you have that part of you. And so that's where the practice, that's why it takes practice, because when we practice, we're letting go of that resistant energy a little bit more, a little bit. And one of the best ways to deal with things like that is to get off the subject. Like, so if it's about money, it's like, get off the subject. Like I have to get off the subject. Like, I'm not going to think about this subject. I'm going to go take a hike, or I'm going to go swimming, or I'm going to do the, like something completely off the subject, because there's resistance that you have in that subject matter. There's that resistance. And so how do you try to let go of that resistance is work on something, work on the backyard, do some gardening, do something, go focus on something that's completely outside of the money topic. Why? Because you want to, where your attention goes, the energy flows. So if you keep like thinking, oh, the money's not here, but I'm being patient, you're creating resistant energy. But let's say you go out and you say, you know what, I'm just going to let this money, I'm not going to think about it right now. I'm going to go and do gardening. And you're doing gardening and you're so into it. You're so into the dirt. You're so into the plants. You're so into the herbs that you've planted. And now you're not thinking about the money because you're so in the power of now with the gardening, and you're so enjoying the sun. You're enjoying the dirt. You're enjoying the grass. You're enjoying the plants. That's going to let go of that resistant energy on the money part. So that's what's going on here. Najira, your illustration is so on point. Thank you so much. Okay, how do we achieve alignment between the ego mind and the higher self? Okay, so I, Najira, I think this is a great question, and I think I've answered the question already. You have to pay attention to what you're saying to yourself, or if you're judging something, observe, have a third eye witness to what you're saying. Is what you're saying aligning with your higher self of unlimited possibilities of of divine time, trusting in the divine timing, of faith, of worthiness, of the power of now, of the light, of the compassion. Is what you are saying to yourself aligned with that, or is aligned with the ego mind of limitation, not having faith, not having trust, having fear? So that's how you know. That's how you know. So then what you do is you pause and you say, okay, what can I say now that could align more with this side, not with this side? So that's how you start to align. And you could say, I let go of this limiting belief that I have right now. I know that all things are possible for me. I might not see it today, but it's okay. I don't need to see it today. I don't even need to know what it is today. I just know that I could release this resistant energy, and I will bring in faith and trust in the divine timing. So I do things like that all the time. Okay, Jax, I try. Nothing ever works for me. Okay. So Jax, you see what you just did? Right there, that statement, nothing ever works for me. That you have to ask yourself, what does that align with? Does that align with your higher self, or does that align with your ego mind of limitation? Does that align yourself? This is a great example. I try, nothing ever works for me. Think about that statement, how powerful that statement is. Where does that align, that statement? Does it align with your higher self of infinite possibilities? Or does it align with your ego mind of limitation? What does it align with? So what you just said, think about it. It's aligning with the ego mind. It's aligning with limitation. It's aligning with the material world that's limited, rather than your metaphysical truth, which is eternal, of infinite possibilities. So what can you do? How can you rephrase that so that it starts to align with this. I would say something like, things have not worked out for me in the past, but that's the past. Because all change happens in the power of now based on your energetic frequency, where it is. And you can change that in the now. That only gets changed in the now. So whatever you've witnessed as your evidence is all past energy. So you could say something like, you know what, that was all things that haven't worked. That was past energy. I am a powerful being that I could create my own reality and I could move my vibrational frequency in the now. The past does not dictate my future, and I can take small steps in this moment, in the now, to move myself towards that future that I desire. The past does not define me. So what's happened with you is that you've seen this pattern of never things don't work out, and you say, Moon, that's my evidence. That's my evidence. Things don't work out, right? And so as you keep harping on that, things don't work out, you keep putting that signal out and you keep disaligning yourself with your higher self. So all you're doing this like you're just going around in this vicious circle. You're seeing the same thing over and over again because you're putting out the same frequency over and over again. So you're doing this. You're just spinning your wheels. So how do you start? You have to break out of it, right? You have to sort of break out of that. So that's it. Right now you're just going like this. You're spinning it's like hamster in the wheel it's going nowhere. Well, that's what's happening because you keep putting the same story out. Nothing works out for me. Nothing works out for me. Nothing works out for me. And the universe, because it's completely inclusive, just shows you the same thing over and over again. Over and over and over and over. So, what you just said, the fact that you said nothing works out for me, that tells you everything. So how can you let that go? And how can you say, you know what? Okay, I'm going to acknowledge that things didn't work out for me in the past, but my past doesn't define my future. I know that I have the power to change my frequency here in the now. Everything changes in the power of now. Your soul and the higher self lives in the power of now. And you can always choose a different thought. You can choose a different, right? You could do that. You have that power in the now, right? Nobody's can choose it for you, but you could choose it. So you have to start choosing better in the now, choosing the thoughts, better emotion, better thoughts. That's the secret here. Okay. So that's what's going on there. So, but that was a beautiful example. Okay. Hi Ella, hi Jackson. Okay. Um, okay, let's see if there's any other uh higher self act. I like this. Higher self awareness has access to all alternate dimensional selves. Yes, because the higher self is not is it transcends time and space, right? It really goes into it transcends all time and space, and so it goes into the higher consciousness level. Jax 10 says, "Yes, I'm in the cycle. I can't get out of it." Again, you just heard. You see what you just said, Jax 10? I can't get out of it. That's it right there. Listen to yourself. I can't pull your awareness and see what you're saying. Pull your awareness like a third eye, like you're a fly in the wall. You're a fly in the wall witnessing Jax 10. You're witnessing yourself. And this is Jax, and you're a fly in the wall. And this is Jax is saying here, I can't get out of it. Things never work out for me. So you want to witness that as a third eye. And you say, oh, God, I just said something that keeps me in this loop. I can't get out of it. Nothing ever works for me. You see this? So as long as you keep saying those things, you're going to be in the loop. So pull your awareness back like a third eye witness, like a fly on the wall, to look at yourself, to look at Jax, with what Jax is saying. And you're saying the same thing in different ways. And so you're going to get the same results. Okay. Ella says, what about planets in our birth chart that define our soul's journey? Do you think we should work on our planet alignment to actualize our higher self? Yes, I do agree that, of course, planet alignment, astrology, and all that is all energy, right? And you could use that to help you optimize it. But the foundation is within you. Of course, the planetary alignments, they affect because they affect energy. It's all energy, right? But the thing is if you don't have the foundation, then you have nothing. And of course, planetary, it's, I've consulted with astrologers before. I've consulted with astrologers and numerologists. Trust me, I've done many sessions. And I've looked at, what is the peak time for this? What is the peak time for that? I've looked at all of that to optimize, to supplement, but I didn't use it to replace the inner work that I have to do, the foundational work of being aware of what I'm saying to myself and what I'm telling my subconscious mind. That's the foundational work that you have to pay attention to. And then you could use those planetary alignments to heighten or supplement that. That's how I would use it. Botanical Bro ate it. The book Frequency by Penny Pierce deals with tapping to frequency of higher selves and higher version of alternate. Yes, thank you. Thank you for suggesting that. You're welcome. What is the difference between higher self and our subconscious mind? That's a really, really good question. Let me think about this because I want to be mindful of what I said, because I never, wow, that's a really good question, Najira. What it is, okay, so the subconscious, the way I would see it, and and other people may say different things, but this is the way I see it. The subconscious mind is the higher self is basically our eternal truth. That is our eternal truth. And then we got the layer of our thoughts, the ego mind. The ego mind is like the conscious mind, and then even the subconscious mind, because the ego mind is what we bring in, is all of the, it's not, it's just, it's the things that we absorb, the thoughts that we absorb, the beliefs that we absorb. And so then there's a conscious mind and the subconscious mind. And so as we keep absorbing something, it goes into the deeper mind. It goes into the subconscious mind. And then it programs your behavior in a certain way, or your energetic frequency you start emitting. So the conscious mind, subconscious mind, it's just different layers of thoughts that you bring in. The subconscious mind is the thought level that's more programmed. That's more like, it's more like think of the conscious mind as like, think of a plant. The conscious mind is like, like the leaves and the stem, and the subconscious mind is the root of the plant. That's how I would see it. And they're all based on what thoughts you bring in, what belief systems you keep absorbing. And then it goes, and if you keep repeating, it goes into the subconscious mind. And then it becomes harder to, you could, of course, deprogram it and reprogram that subconscious mind, but it gets harder, right? And then there's the higher self is the eternal truth. That is just who you are. That is your existential truth that can't be shaken. Whereas the thoughts of your subconscious and conscious mind could be changed. That could be altered. But your higher self is the truth. It is the absolute truth. But the thoughts that are going to conscious and subconscious can be changed. Okay, so that's the difference. That's the layer of difference that I see. But somebody else might give you a different answer, but that's how I see it. Okay, so that's a really good question. I like that question a lot. Oh, okay. Hi, Jason. Oh, hi, Perry. How are you? Everyone on this magnificent earth with reverence and gratitude for each precious moment with wonderment and joy. Thank you so much, Perry. I am scheduled for surgery on my face to remove malignant cancer. It's a process of learning from each. Oh my God. Okay. Wow. Look at Perry. Okay, let's all send Perry some beautiful healing energy. Perry, that is amazing. Even with this malignant cancer, you're keeping yourself with such beautiful grace. Grace. So let's all send a little prayer and healing energies to Perry. Dear God, angel, spirit guides, please, I ask you, all of the spirit team for Perry, to guide her and support her to remove this malignant cancer. That cancer could be filled with love so that it will no longer be cancer, but a healthy cell We ask you to send her beautiful, beautiful golden energies in that part of her so that that may heal beautiful naturally and that she will get the right treatment, the right support that she needs. We thank you for supporting her and watching over her and protecting her health because she is such a beautiful soul or a beautiful soul that needs a lot more purpose to her in this life. So thank you so much for your continued support, your continued healing, your computer guidance for her medical treatment so that she may put out these beautiful messages to the world because it is much needed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. Well, Perry, much love to you. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so does anybody else have any other question about this topic? I think I've gone through it. I hope I have gone through it in a way that you can understand it. Okay, oh, Paris says, I don't define myself by circumstances and diagnostic issues that are threatening my existence. Believe in the moment of change and revitalization. Absolutely. I 1,000% agree with you, Perry. 1,000%. 1,000%. Thank you for such beautiful wisdoms. I love it. Um, you're such an inspiration to all of us. Such an inspiration. And we know that you're going to be here because your purpose is not over. Your purpose is not over because your ability to just keep putting out these beautiful messages is so needed on this planet that I know your purpose is not over. So you're still going to be here with us. And this is just, an experience for you to expand your soul, right? This is an experience for you to expand your soul. And obviously, you understand that in a profound way. That's why you have so much grace about it. That's why you have grace. And you have really touched my heart and soul because of your grace and such wisdom that you put out to us and to the planet. So thank you so much, Parry. All right. So if nobody else has any, hi Esther, how are you? So if nobody else has any questions, we could close the room. Let me just reiterate. Your higher self is your truth, is who you really are. And the ego mind is just the thoughts that you're absorbing and you're telling yourself. And then when you repeat those thoughts, that becomes a belief. And so your higher self and the ego mind is kind of like butting heads because their higher self is saying, I'm unlimited. I have infinite potential. I'm expansive. And the ego mind is saying, I'm limited. I'm not worthy. You know, I have fear. And so it's butting heads. And so the more you let go of that ego mind and that limitation, you're aligning with your higher self. And when you're aligning with your higher self, that's when you become a powerful creator because your higher self is unlimited. Your higher self is has so much faith and trust in the process. Your higher self says, I am worthy. Your higher self says, I am unconditionally lovable. Your higher self says, I'm good enough. So think about it. If you align with your higher self, what is it that you cannot accomplish? Really, what is it that you cannot accomplish? And all of those cooperative components that the universe has for you, all of the opportunities and situations, you're just going to receive it because you're so open. You have no limitations. So if there's no limitations, you could just receive everything. You become a powerful creator. So use align with your higher self as a manifesting tool to create. Okay, so let's do a closing prayer. Dear God, angels, spirit guides, and masters, divine creator, thank you so much for allowing us to create this sacred space. And thank you again for uh, for protecting Parry, looking out for her and guiding her as she goes through this medical procedure. We know that all of her spirit team will be with her. Thank you so much for allowing us to talk on this topic of aligning and manifesting with our higher self. That is the unlimited part of us, the eternal part of us with infinite potential. Thank you for guiding every single one of these beautiful souls to their higher self, to their light, to their powerful ability to create that they don't even know right now, that they are infinite beings of infinite potential with such unique gifts and talents for each one of these beautiful souls. So thank you so much for your continued support, your continued guidance, your continued wisdoms, your continued protection, most importantly, your unconditional love. And so it is. Okay, so much love and blessings to all of you.